Kian is a 65-year-old retired schoolteacher who, until recently, thought he was doing pretty well for his age. He enjoyed his morning routine, a cup of coffee, a quiet walk in the park, and some light reading. But over the past few months, something had started to change. Kian found himself feeling more tired than usual, and sometimes his chest would tighten unexpectedly. One afternoon, after climbing a short flight of stairs, he felt dizzy and nearly lost his balance. It was alarming enough to make him finally visit his doctor. During the appointment, the doctor gave Kian a frank warning. His cholesterol levels were dangerously high, and his heart was struggling more than it should for a man of his age. The doctor didn't blame genetics or age alone. He pointed to Kian's daily habits, especially the type of coffee he drank. That one daily ritual, something so familiar and comforting, was quietly affecting his arteries, raising his risk of stroke and heart attack. It was a shock. Kian had always believed coffee was good for him, that it woke him up and kept his mind sharp. But now he realized he had been unknowingly putting his health in jeopardy. This moment was a turning point for Kian. He began to pay closer attention to what he was drinking and eating. Instead of rushing through his mornings with the same cup of flavored instant coffee loaded with hidden chemicals, he started exploring alternatives that could actually help protect his heart and brain. The journey wasn't just about swapping one drink for another, it was about shifting his mindset. Kian realized that aging didn't mean giving up on health or vitality. It meant learning smarter ways to care for himself, to slow the silent damage that builds over time. As Kian experimented with new coffee blends, ones rich in antioxidants and free from harmful additives, he noticed small but powerful changes. His energy stabilized, his joints felt less stiff, and his focus returned. More importantly, he felt hopeful. For the first time in a long while, he understood that taking control of his health was within reach, and it didn't have to be complicated or joyless. Through simple choices like the right coffee, Kian was rewriting the story of his later years, one cup at a time. Kian sat quietly in the doctor's office, his hands folded tightly on his lap. The white walls, the soft hum of the air conditioner, and the faint scent of antiseptic made the room feel both sterile and heavy with unspoken concerns. When the doctor looked up from the papers and said, "Your cholesterol levels are higher than they should be for your age," Kian felt as if someone had punched him in the chest. He was 65, retired but active, and thought he had taken reasonable care of himself. Yet here he was, facing a problem that could lead to heart disease or worse. The doctor's words echoed in his mind as he left the clinic. He kept thinking about the cup of coffee he had that very morning, the usual flavored instant coffee mix he had been drinking every day for years. It was comforting, easy, and felt like a small indulgence in his quiet routine. Now Kian wondered if that simple habit was silently hurting him. The doctor had mentioned that certain types of coffee contain hidden chemicals and unhealthy fats that could raise bad cholesterol and strain the kidneys. It was something Kian had never even considered. That evening, Kian sat at his kitchen table, the familiar aroma of coffee filling the air, but this time it smelled different. It didn't bring the usual warmth or comfort. Instead, it reminded him of the warning he'd received. He poured the coffee out without drinking it, feeling a strange mix of regret and determination. He didn't want to give up coffee entirely. It had been a small pleasure in his day, but he realized he needed to change. His wife, Lan, noticed the hesitation. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. Kian shared the doctor's news and his concerns about the coffee. Lan nodded knowingly. "I've heard some of those instant mixes have all sorts of additives. Maybe it's time to try something cleaner." Her support gave him courage. Change was never easy, especially when it involved breaking habits formed over decades. But Kian understood that his health depended on it. That night, as he browsed online, Kian learned more about the hidden dangers lurking in flavored instant coffees. Propylene glycol, hydrogenated palm oils, and artificial sweeteners, words that sounded more like chemicals than food ingredients, were common in the packets he had trusted for years. They quietly built up in the body, taxing the kidneys and disrupting metabolism, especially in older adults whose organs don't work as efficiently as they used to. The realization was sobering. What he thought was harmless indulgence was a slow poison. Yet amid this unsettling information, Kian found hope. He read about natural ways to protect his heart and kidneys, like choosing organic medium roast coffee brewed with filtered water, avoiding harmful creamers, and even adding natural flavors like cinnamon or real vanilla extract instead of artificial packets. It felt like a roadmap out of the haze he had been living in. The next morning, Kian made his first conscious choice. He skipped the flavored instant coffee and brewed a simple cup of medium roast Arabica coffee using filtered water. The taste was different, less sweet and less familiar, but it felt pure and real. Sitting at the table with that cup, Kian felt a flicker of pride. It wasn't just about coffee anymore, it was about taking control of his health, one step at a time. This shift was more than a new beverage choice, it was a change in mindset. Kian realized that aging wasn't about resignation or decline, but about being mindful and intentional. He promised himself to keep learning, to listen more carefully to his body, and to surround himself with knowledge that empowered rather than scared him. That evening, Kian shared his journey with his friends during their weekly phone call. Some were skeptical, others admitted they too had never questioned their morning coffee ritual. But the conversation sparked curiosity and a shared desire to explore healthier choices. For Kian, this connection was vital. It reminded him that transformation didn't happen in isolation, but through community and shared understanding. As days passed, Kian noticed small changes. He felt less sluggish after his morning coffee. His stomach was calmer and his mood steadier. The simple act of changing his coffee was already weaving into a larger story of health and renewal. He understood now that the choices we make, even something as everyday as a cup of coffee, can ripple through our lives, influencing not just our bodies, but our spirit. In this moment of awakening, Kian wasn't just a man changing his drink. He was a man reclaiming his well-being, ready to face the coming years with wisdom and care. And it all began with the courage to question what he thought he knew and to embrace the possibility of change. The days following Kian's decision to switch his coffee weren't as smooth as he'd hoped. Each morning, the smell of his old flavored instant coffee still tempted him, whispering familiarity and comfort. Old habits, especially those woven into the fabric of daily life, have a stubborn hold. Kian found himself reaching for the wrong packet more than once, then catching himself and sighing deeply. Change was harder than he imagined. Lan watched this struggle with quiet understanding. She knew how much the ritual of that morning coffee meant to Kian, not just the caffeine, but the memories, the small joy and routine. One morning, she brought him a small jar of real vanilla extract and a cinnamon stick, gently suggesting, "Try adding a little of this to your new coffee. It might make the taste closer to what you're used to." Kian was touched. It was more than just flavor, it was support. This small gesture helped ease the transition, but Kian's mind was still unsettled. The doctor's warnings had stirred anxiety he hadn't expected. What if his arteries were already damaged? What if the silent chemicals had done more harm than he could fix? He remembered moments when his breath felt short or his joints ached more than usual. Were these signs of decline he had ignored? One afternoon, Kian's daughter Mai came over for tea. When he shared his coffee journey, Mai's eyes widened. "Dad, you've always been so healthy, but you have to be careful. Those instant mixes are full of toxins. I've read they can even disrupt gut health, and that's linked to inflammation all over the body." Her concern made Kian feel both supported and vulnerable. For the first time, he admitted his fear of not knowing how deep the damage might be. Mai's words stayed with him as he lay awake that night. The gut microbiome, inflammation, silent damage, these weren't just medical jargon, but pieces of a puzzle he was only beginning to see. He realized that true health wasn't just about avoiding disease, but nurturing his body's complex balance. The fake sweeteners and trans fats in his old coffee mixes had been undermining this balance for years. This awareness sparked a new determination. Kian started reading about natural foods that supported gut health, fermented vegetables, leafy greens, and natural spices. He also discovered the importance of hydration and gentle movement to help his body detoxify and repair. Though overwhelmed at times, he felt empowered by the knowledge that healing was possible. Meanwhile, Kian's social circle noticed the change too. His old friend, Mr. Than, teased him gently during their weekly chess game. "So you're becoming a fancy coffee drinker now?" But when Kian explained why, Than nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe I should try that too. I get those stomach pains after my coffee sometimes." That simple conversation felt like a small victory, proof that Kian's journey could ripple outward. Yet old cravings didn't disappear overnight. The allure of convenience and sweetness was powerful, especially on busy mornings or during moments of stress. Kian learned that part of change was forgiving himself, allowing for setbacks without guilt. Each morning, he chose the clean coffee felt like a gift to himself, a step away from silent harm and toward renewal. Kian also began to notice how his energy fluctuated less. The blood sugar roller coaster the doctor had warned about, spikes and crashes caused by processed sugars and creamers, was no longer dictating his day. Mornings were calmer, focus sharper. It was subtle, but it gave him hope. Through this phase, Kian's mindset was shifting from fear to curiosity, from hesitation to hopeful experimentation. He realized that health was not a destination, but a daily practice, a series of choices that honored the wisdom of his body and the years he carried. And with Lan and Mai by his side, the path felt less lonely. This part of Kian's journey was about letting go, not just of a coffee brand, but of old comforts and assumptions. It was about embracing discomfort for the sake of future strength. Though the road was uneven, Kian walked it with growing confidence, ready for the changes yet to come. Kian's mornings had slowly transformed from rushed routines filled with questionable habits into moments of mindful care. After weeks of avoiding flavored instant coffee, he started to appreciate the quiet ritual of brewing a fresh cup of organic, medium roast Arabica. There was something soothing about the process, the aroma rising gently as the water poured over the grounds, the slow drip filling his cup with warmth and promise. It was more than coffee now, it was a daily act of healing. One crisp morning, Kian sat by the window with his new cup, feeling the first rays of sunlight touch his face. The taste was different, cleaner, less sweet, but refreshing in a way that made him smile. It reminded him of stories his grandfather told about simpler times, when food and drink came from nature without additives or shortcuts. That thought gave Kian a sense of connection to something timeless, something real. Around this time, Kian's doctor called him with good news from a recent checkup. His cholesterol levels had begun to drop and his kidney function was stable. The doctor praised Kian's commitment to changing his diet, especially cutting out harmful creamers and artificial sweeteners. "Your body is responding well," the doctor said warmly. "It's proof that small, consistent choices can turn things around, even at 65. That reassurance filled Kian with pride and relief. It was tangible evidence that he was on the right path. The anxiety that had shadowed him was lifting, replaced by a quiet confidence. He began to feel more energetic during the day and slept more soundly at night, no longer waking with that heavy ache in his joints. Kian also discovered the importance of filtered water in brewing coffee. The old tap water in his home had traces of lead and copper, common in older pipes, which could leach into beverages and strain the kidneys over time. Investing in a simple water filter became another way to protect his health. These small details gave Kian a sense of control and care, as if he were gently nurturing a precious garden within himself. Beyond taste and chemistry, Kian found a new appreciation for how coffee could be part of a healing ritual. Adding a sprinkle of cinnamon or a drop of real vanilla brought comfort and subtle sweetness without artificial harm. The cinnamon, he learned, wasn't just flavor, it helped regulate blood sugar and reduce inflammation, two silent enemies of aging bodies. One afternoon, Kian invited his daughter Mai to join him for coffee. He brewed a fresh pot of medium roast Arabica with filtered water, carefully stirring in cinnamon and a splash of unsweetened oat milk. Mai took a sip, smiling at the smooth taste. "This is really good, Dad," she said. "I'm glad you found something that works for you." Their shared moment was more than just a drink. It was a bond of care, a bridge between generations learning to face aging with knowledge and hope. For Kian, this was a powerful reminder that health was woven through relationships as much as through food. This phase of Kian's journey wasn't about perfection, but about discovery. He learned to listen to his body's subtle signals and respond with kindness. He noticed how clean coffee supported his digestion, eased his joint stiffness, and sharpened his focus. It wasn't magic, it was science and mindfulness working together. Kian also began to read stories of others like him, people over 60 reclaiming vitality by rethinking everyday habits. He realized that health was a living conversation between body, mind, and environment. Every cup of coffee was a chance to participate in that dialogue, to choose nourishment over neglect. As he prepared for the days ahead, Kian felt a growing sense of agency. He was no longer a passive passenger on the road of aging, but an active driver steering toward well-being. and the simple act of choosing clean coffee was a daily reminder that healing was possible, even in small, quiet ways. The months passed, and Kian's newfound coffee ritual became more than just a morning habit. It was a symbol of his commitment to living well in his later years. One day, while chatting with Mai about his progress, she mentioned something that piqued his curiosity: collagen peptides. She explained how collagen, the protein that keeps skin firm and joints flexible, naturally declines with age, but supplementing it could make a significant difference. At first, Kian was skeptical. He had heard of collagen in passing, but never thought it was something for him. The idea of adding a powder to his coffee seemed odd, yet as Mai shared stories of friends who had seen improvements in their joint pain and energy, Kian found himself intrigued. He wanted more than just to avoid harm. He wanted to rebuild and strengthen his body. The next morning, Kian carefully stirred a scoop of hydrolyzed collagen peptides into his freshly brewed coffee. The powder dissolved easily, and the taste barely changed. As he sipped the warm, creamy drink, he felt a sense of optimism. This small addition felt like an investment in his future, a way to fight the stiffness in his knees and the tiredness that had lingered in his muscles. As the weeks went on, Kian noticed subtle but meaningful changes. His joints felt less achy, and climbing stairs became easier. Tasks that once left him exhausted no longer drained his energy as quickly. He shared these improvements with Lan, who smiled warmly and encouraged him to keep going. The simple joy of moving more freely was a gift neither of them took for granted. Beyond physical changes, Kian felt a renewed sense of confidence. He realized that aging didn't have to mean surrendering to decline. Instead, with care and knowledge, he could support his body's natural repair processes. The collagen peptides were not a cure-all, but they were a tool, a way to nourish the structures that kept him standing tall. Kian's doctor was pleased with the progress too. At his next appointment, she noted improvements in bone density and reduced inflammation markers. She reminded Kian that while supplements like collagen helped, they worked best alongside balanced nutrition and regular, gentle exercise. This advice motivated Kian to take evening walks with Lan, feeling the crisp air and the rhythm of his steps as part of his healing journey. Mai continued to be a source of encouragement, often checking in with new research or recipes that combined health and flavor. Kian began experimenting with different plant-based milk alternatives fortified with calcium and vitamin D to add to his coffee, further enriching his nutrient intake. Each new habit felt like a thread in the tapestry of his renewed health. This chapter of Kian's story was about more than supplements. It was about embracing natural support systems, listening to his body, and allowing himself to heal at his own pace. The act of adding collagen to his coffee was symbolic of his deeper commitment to self-care and resilience. Even in quiet moments, Kian felt the strength returning, not just in his body, but in his spirit. He looked forward to mornings now, not only for the warmth of the coffee, but for the promise each day held. With each sip, he was reminded that aging was a journey of continual growth and adaptation, and that he was ready to face it with courage and grace. Kian's journey toward better health had become a tapestry of small, mindful choices that together made a big difference. One afternoon, during a call with Mai, she told him about a powerful coffee combination she'd read about, adding MCT oil and Ceylon cinnamon. She explained how these simple additions could protect the brain, sharpen memory, and stabilize blood sugar, all crucial for someone his age. At first, Kian was curious but cautious. The idea of adding oil to his coffee sounded strange, and he wasn't sure about cinnamon either, especially the difference between the common cassia cinnamon and the true Ceylon variety, which had unique health benefits. Mai assured him that both ingredients were natural and safe when used properly. Encouraged, Kian decided to give it a try. The next morning, he brewed his medium roast Arabica coffee as usual. He stirred in a teaspoon of MCT oil, a fat derived from coconut oil that the body quickly converts into energy, and half a teaspoon of finely ground Ceylon cinnamon. The coffee took on a rich, smooth texture with a subtle, spicy warmth. With the first sip, Kian felt a comforting glow spread through him. As days turned into weeks, Kian noticed subtle improvements in his mental clarity. Tasks that once felt overwhelming were easier to manage, and conversations felt sharper and more engaging. He remembered the doctor's warning about cognitive decline and was heartened to feel like he was actively fighting it. The MCT oil provided a quick, steady source of fuel for his brain cells, especially important as glucose metabolism naturally slows with age. Ceylon cinnamon, Kian learned, was more than a flavorful spice. It contained compounds that improved insulin sensitivity and circulation, helping to keep his blood sugar stable and his heart healthy. This was vital because swings in blood sugar often caused him to feel fatigued or foggy-headed in the afternoons. Now those energy crashes were less frequent, and he felt more balanced throughout the day. Kian's wife Lan noticed the change too. "You seem more alert lately," she said with a smile one evening, "and you're even humming while you read." These small observations gave Kian a quiet joy. He realized that the benefits of his coffee upgrade went beyond physical health. They were uplifting his mood and enriching his daily life. One afternoon, Kian shared his new coffee recipe with his close friends during a neighborhood gathering. Some were skeptical, but many were intrigued by the promise of brain and heart support from such simple ingredients. Kian explained how these additions were backed by scientific studies showing improvements in memory and blood sugar control among seniors. This part of Kian's transformation wasn't just about nutrition, it was about hope and empowerment. He no longer felt like aging was an inevitable decline, but a challenge to be met with knowledge and grace. Every morning, cup of coffee had become a ritual of renewal, a way to care for his mind and body together. As Kian prepared his coffee each day, he reflected on the journey he'd taken. From the surprise diagnosis to the discovery of healing habits, each step had brought him closer to a healthier, fuller life. The blend of MCT oil and Ceylon cinnamon was a symbol of that growth, a small but powerful tool in his arsenal against the challenges of aging. With each sip, Kian felt ready to face whatever came next. His coffee was no longer just a beverage, it was a daily promise to himself, a promise of vitality, clarity, and resilience. Months into his journey, Kian found that the changes he had made were becoming a natural part of his life. What began as a hesitant attempt to switch his coffee had blossomed into a deeper commitment to health and well-being. The ritual of brewing a clean, nourishing cup each morning grounded him, a quiet moment of self-care before the day began. But Kian also knew that lasting change required more than good habits. It needed balance and sustainability. He reflected on the many small shifts he had embraced, choosing organic Arabica beans, filtering his water, adding collagen peptides, incorporating MCT oil and Ceylon cinnamon. Each addition felt intentional, a layer of protection woven into his daily routine. Kian's family played an important role in this new chapter. Lan continued to support him with encouragement and thoughtful gestures, like preparing fresh fruits to accompany his coffee, or suggesting gentle stretching exercises they could do together. Mai, now a constant source of health insights and recipes, often checked in with articles and new ideas, creating a bridge between science and practice. One afternoon, Kian invited his closest friends for coffee at his home. He prepared a pot using his favorite medium roast Arabica, filtered water, and carefully blended in his signature additions. As they gathered, sharing stories and laughter, Kian realized how much this journey had changed not just his health, but his connection to those around him. He also learned to listen deeply to his body's signals. On days when he felt more tired or his joints ached, Kian adjusted his routine, resting more, hydrating carefully, and being gentle with himself. This sensitivity was part of aging with wisdom, not resistance. He embraced the idea that health was a dance, requiring patience and kindness. Kian understood now that coffee was more than a drink. It was a daily choice that reflected his respect for his body and his future. He had transformed what was once a simple habit into a powerful tool for longevity, memory, and vitality. His mornings were no longer hurried or uncertain, but filled with intention and care. Looking ahead, Kian felt hopeful. He knew that aging would bring new challenges, but he also felt equipped to meet them with the knowledge and habits he had built. His coffee ritual was a foundation, a steady source of nourishment and clarity amidst life's changes. Most importantly, Kian realized that sharing his story could help others. He began to think about ways to encourage his friends, neighbors, and family to examine their own routines, to discover small but impactful changes that could improve their health. Because aging was a journey best traveled together with openness, support, and a shared commitment to living well. As the sun set on another day, Kian sipped his coffee with gratitude. He was no longer the man who worried silently about hidden dangers. He was a man who had embraced change, welcomed healing, and found joy in the simple, mindful moments that made all the difference. Kian's journey toward healthier habits wasn't without its bumps. Despite his progress, there were mornings when the comfort of old routines called out to him louder than his resolve. One particularly stressful week, filled with unexpected errands and family worries, Kian found himself reaching once again for the familiar flavored instant coffee packets. The sweet smell and quick fix seemed irresistible amid the chaos. That day, after the rush settled, Kian felt a pang of guilt. He knew the harm those coffees could cause, yet the pull of convenience and habit was powerful. He reminded himself that change isn't linear and setbacks don't erase the progress made. This realization softened his frustration and helped him move forward rather than spiral into defeat. Lan noticed the lapse but chose support over criticism. She gently encouraged him to refill his jar with the cleaner Arabica beans and offered to help brew a fresh pot. Her kindness reminded Kian that accountability and compassion were essential companions on his path. He was not alone in this journey, and small stumbles were part of the human experience. Kian also learned to prepare for challenging moments by building strategies that fit his life. He started batching his cold brew coffee concentrate on weekends, storing it in the fridge for quick, acid-reduced refreshment during busy days. This made healthy choices accessible even when time was tight or energy low. Through this process, Kian discovered the importance of self-forgiveness. Instead of harsh judgment, he practiced patience, knowing that each morning presented a new chance to make better choices. This mindset shift eased anxiety and built resilience, helping him maintain his commitment in the long run. He also reached out to his doctor with questions about managing cravings and balancing nutrients. The doctor recommended mindfulness techniques and suggested gentle physical activities to reduce stress and support metabolic health. Kian began incorporating brief walks and stretching into his day, which not only helped his body but also calmed his mind. Friends and neighbors shared their own struggles and successes, creating a community of encouragement. Kian realized that openly discussing setbacks removed shame and fostered a shared commitment to health. Their stories reminded him that perseverance was key and that every effort, no matter how small, mattered. Reflecting on this phase, Kian felt grateful for the wisdom gained through imperfection. He understood that setbacks were not failures, but opportunities to deepen his understanding and strengthen his resolve. With renewed patience, he approached each day as a fresh beginning, confident that persistence would lead to lasting wellness. As Kian continued his health journey, he discovered something he hadn't expected: the incredible strength found in community. One afternoon, during a neighborhood health workshop, he shared his story of changing coffee habits and the small but significant improvements he'd experienced. His openness sparked conversations among neighbors, many of whom faced similar struggles with aging and lifestyle choices. Kian was surprised and heartened by how willing people were to listen and learn from one another. Stories flowed freely about stubborn habits, health scares, and moments of triumph. It became clear to Kian that health was not an isolated battle, but a collective endeavor, enriched by shared experiences and mutual support. Encouraged, Kian helped organize a small weekly gathering where local seniors met to discuss health tips, swap recipes, and try new, healthier versions of their favorite foods and drinks. The coffee ritual became a centerpiece of these meetings, brewing clean coffee with nourishing additives, tasting different blends, and exchanging advice on natural ingredients. These gatherings did more than improve physical health. They nourished spirits. Kian saw how laughter, friendship, and encouragement lifted moods and fostered a sense of belonging. It reminded him that mental and emotional well-being were just as vital as physical changes. Through this collective effort, Kian felt a deeper sense of purpose. Sharing his journey wasn't just about helping others, it was about creating a space where everyone could grow stronger together. He realized that the wisdom gained through experience multiplied when shared with kindness. Back at home, these connections inspired Kian to involve his family more deeply in his routines. Lan started joining the morning coffee ritual, experimenting with new recipes alongside him. Mai began helping him track health goals and celebrated each milestone, no matter how small. Kian's transformation became a beacon, not just for himself, but for his community. He understood that health was woven through relationships and that healing was most powerful when it was shared. Each cup of coffee was now a symbol of connection, care, and collective resilience. As he sipped his morning brew surrounded by friends or family, Kian felt a profound gratitude. His journey had evolved from a solitary challenge into a shared celebration of life, health, and hope. Together, they faced aging with strength, compassion, and a renewed zest for living fully. As Kian's health journey deepened, he began to realize that true wellness extended beyond just the coffee he drank. While choosing the right brew and additives was crucial, it was only one part of a larger picture. This awareness opened his eyes to the importance of living mindfully in every meal, every movement, and every moment. One quiet morning, as he prepared his coffee, Kian paused and reflected on the changes he'd made. He had learned to savor his cup slowly, appreciating not just the flavor but the ritual itself. This new approach helped calm his mind and focus his thoughts, setting a positive tone for the day. It was a small practice with a big impact. Kian also started paying closer attention to his diet throughout the day. He incorporated more fresh vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins, understanding that nourishing his body holistically supported the benefits he gained from his coffee routine. Lan joined him in cooking simple, wholesome meals that honored their cultural traditions while embracing healthier ingredients. Physical activity became another pillar of mindful living. Kian discovered that gentle stretching and daily walks did more than keep his joints flexible. They lifted his spirits and sharpened his mental clarity. On some days, he even practiced breathing exercises or meditation, finding peace amid life's stresses. Social connection, too, was essential. Kian realized that laughter, shared stories, and moments of kindness fueled his emotional well-being. Whether it was a friendly chat with a neighbor or a family dinner, these interactions brought joy and a sense of belonging that strengthened his resolve to live fully. Of course, mindfulness also meant accepting limitations and listening to his body's needs. On days when fatigue or discomfort surfaced, Kian allowed himself rest without guilt. He understood that balance was about honoring both activity and stillness, movement and pause. This broader perspective made Kian's journey richer and more sustainable. Coffee had been his entry point, but mindful living was the path that carried him forward. Each choice, whether a sip, a step, or a smile, became part of a conscious effort to nurture his health and happiness. As he sat with his cup of cinnamon-spiced coffee one evening, Kian felt a deep sense of gratitude. The journey was ongoing, filled with learning and growth. But with each mindful moment, he was building a life that honored his past, embraced his present, and looked forward to the future with hope and strength. As the seasons changed, Kian found himself reflecting on how far he had come. What began as a simple concern over his cholesterol had grown into a comprehensive journey of self-care and renewal. He no longer saw aging as a slow decline, but as a new chapter filled with opportunities for growth, joy, and meaningful connection. Kian took pride in the small victories, the stable energy throughout his day, the ease in his joints, the sharper mind during conversations with family and friends. These changes were not dramatic overnight miracles, but steady, quiet improvements that built a stronger foundation for his future. His coffee ritual remained a daily anchor, a moment of warmth and intention that symbolized his commitment to health. Whether it was the rich aroma of organic Arabica, the nourishing addition of collagen peptides, or the brain-boosting blend of MCT oil and Ceylon cinnamon, each cup was a celebration of care. More importantly, Kian embraced the mindset of possibility. He learned to approach each day with curiosity, patience, and kindness toward himself. He understood that setbacks were part of the process, not signs of failure. This acceptance freed him from fear and fostered resilience. Kian also felt a deep gratitude for the relationships that supported him: Lan's steadfast encouragement, Mai's loving guidance, and the community of friends who shared their journeys. Together, they created a network of strength and hope, reminding one another that no one faced aging alone. Looking ahead, Kian was excited to continue exploring new ways to nourish his body and mind. He planned to try new recipes, deepen his mindfulness practice, and perhaps share his story with others seeking inspiration. His experience had taught him that health was not just about longevity, but about quality of life, living fully with purpose and joy. As he poured his morning coffee one crisp autumn day, Kian smiled softly. He had transformed a simple daily habit into a powerful tool for wellness. But more than that, he had transformed how he saw himself and his journey through life. Aging was no longer something to fear. It was a path to be walked with awareness, courage, and heart. And with each thoughtful choice, Kian was stepping confidently forward, stronger, wiser, and more alive than ever before. Kian's journey shows us that even small changes can lead to powerful transformations. From switching his everyday coffee to a cleaner, nourishing brew to embracing natural supplements like collagen and MCT oil, he rediscovered his strength, clarity, and hope. What began as a simple choice became a pathway to better health, a more mindful lifestyle, and deeper connection with those around him. As you watch this, consider your own daily habits, the small rituals that shape your well-being. What might happen if you chose differently? If you swapped out hidden chemicals for natural, healing ingredients? Kian's story reminds us that it's never too late to take control of your health, one step, one sip at a time. Changing long-held habits isn't always easy, but with patience and support, it's possible to rewrite your health story. Let Kian's experience inspire you to look closely at what you're putting into your body and to seek choices that uplift and protect you, especially as you age. Remember, aging is not about giving up. It's about growing wiser and stronger with each passing day. Your journey can be filled with vitality and joy, starting with the simple, mindful choices you make right now. So, here's to embracing health, hope, and the power within you to change. The best is yet to come.